What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off what the charts are showing and based off what the data suggests. I'm also going to talk about what's going on with the overall market, how that may affect NIO, what the news is saying about NIO, which is actually pretty interesting, and it could actually be another trick, and also what NIO put on their Twitter page, which is once again very bullish news for the long-term future. Now, before I break any of this down and talk about what on earth NIO is doing, before I talk about why on earth I do see the potential for a bit of a gap fill to the way down over the next couple of trading days, probably by next week, maybe a little earlier. Before I say anything, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. And not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 10 free stocks, each worth to $2,500. And the best part is, out of the 10 free stocks, 5 are going to come from the wheel right here. This means that you could get 5 free AMC shares, 5 free Apple shares, and so on and so forth in this limited time offer that ends in just 1 week. So please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So in my previous video, I talked about how NIO had this gap right here, and I saw lots of bullish signals for the market. So I predicted that the SPY in the Nasdaq would have a bullish day. I did predict green, and I predicted that NIO would actually push to around that 22.5 level, get a rejection around there, kind of trade sideways and maybe close around 22.5 or 22.25. So I predicted exactly or very close to where NIO ended up closing, but it did go about 50 cents higher than I predicted. So that's a pretty good sign. However, we did open with this giant gap right here, right? And this gap is an indication that we're likely going to see some downside a little bit later, but are we ready for downside just yet? And right now it's very hard to tell if it's going to happen now or if it's meant to happen a little bit later, maybe going into like next week. But I want to talk about what the indications are right now. So looking at SPY was up 1.5% for the day, but the SPY does have this gap down here. That's very important to note, and it could actually cause the SPY to drop later on. Is it guaranteed to happen tomorrow? Not yet. We could actually have some more room for upside tomorrow before a bit of a rejection. And what I'm seeing right now is the SPY is very close to a key level. The SPY got rejected off 393 last time we actually pushed up like this before seeing more downside, and it does look like we may see a repeat of that unless we break this zone. So if SPY breaks past like 392, 393, we hold that level and we push up, the market's going to turn bullish. We might see some temporary relief, and NIO is going to push up too. But tomorrow, if SPY gets rejected off this, which is very possible, it's most likely going to start coming down, especially considering everything that's going on. Now, regardless of what happens, even if we get that big push, even if there is some downside, I do see lots of bearish indicators coming out for the second half of July, from earnings to the FOMC meeting to the potential GDP report. All those things are most likely going to cause some bearish price action. So I am more bearish than bullish for the second half of July. So once we get there, like I said before, I think the end result will point in the same direction to some more downside. Now, looking at Nasdaq, this is where things become even more interesting. The Nasdaq is pushing up pretty hard as well. Got a nice move to the upside, forming this double top. But if I zoom out a little bit more, what you'll notice is that the Nasdaq broke past this key level, and if we break past this key resistance level, which is at 11,669, we have this gap right here. The gap could push the Nasdaq to about $11,765, pushing tech stocks a little bit more, which means that there could be a little bit more room. So we want to see how the Nasdaq responds. Will the Nasdaq push up a little bit more, or will the Nasdaq get kind of rejected? And it could really go either way, but I do think that some downside seems a little bit more likely for the market than upside tomorrow. So what I think could happen is we get a push up into opening, a rejection followed by some potential downside. And the reason I feel that way is because this whole move could be a trap. Because when you look at SPY, one thing I don't like about it is the volume is just not there. Let me actually show you this. So look at these bars on the bottom. The volume is just decreasing. We're pushing on low volume, which is not necessarily a good sign. And let me show you an example. I think I have an example of this happening in the past. We kind of pushed on low volume like right here, and we saw the SPY got a rejection. And were there other instances? I mean, it's not very common for that to happen. But right here, back in like May, the SPY pushed on lowering volume, and the SPY went from 407 and it dropped all the way down to about 379 in a short period of time. Now, it did end up getting a bit of a push up, followed by more downside, but I'm putting it out there that the volume is not looking that great. I actually have another example to show you. Look at the SPY's volume over the last few days. The average volume for the last, I think, 7 days was 96 million. The SPY was getting high volume. Today alone, it was at 64 million. So despite us pushing up, being up 1.5%, the SPY just was not showing the strength it normally does. And that's the reason why I'm a little bit skeptical about this thing pushing and actually filling the gap up here. Now, I could be wrong. Sometimes the market completely surprises you. So it is possible for there to be some more potential upside. But I just think that it's less likely. I think we're more likely to see some red. And that's why I am predicting a bit of a red day for SPY. I think that's a little bit more likely. For NIO, here's the thing about NIO. NIO is a stock that is very bullish for the long term. It has lots of potential, but it's dictated by the SPY, the Nasdaq, and the overall market, the QQQ. They're running in unison. Notice how when the SPY and Nasdaq happen to be green together, they happen to kind of run very similarly every single day over the last few months. And NIO tends to follow them. It tends to. Almost always it does. If the SPY is green, NIO tends to be green with it. When the SPY is red, NIO tends to be red with it. Every day, no, but it tends to be that way. So with that said, considering the fact that the SPY's volume isn't that great, and even if we do push up a little bit, I do see the potential for downside in the near term. NIO has this gap down here. All right, this gap is going to take NIO back down to $20.82. So this 8% move up is kind of like a trap in my opinion. And NIO could actually start to drop relatively soon. So for tomorrow, if I can make a prediction, I would predict that it's very possible that NIO pushes up like this. Maybe we trade a little bit bullishly for the first few hours, then we slowly kind of bleed off going forward. We get a slow drop. We may even turn red near the end of the day. And I don't know if we're going to fill the gap all the way down there that quickly, but I wouldn't be surprised if this thing actually tests the low 22 level or even a little lower than that. So we could actually see a bit of a decline tomorrow. And going into next week, that's when we may fill the gap. Now, if things become really extreme, it is possible for us to fill the gap tomorrow, but I just don't see that happening. And I am a little bit more in favor of a more bearish day for tomorrow than a bullish day. Now, remember, this is just a one-day prediction, and my predictions are not always perfect. I am a human. I make mistakes too, and no one can predict the market perfectly on a day-to-day basis. But this is just what I think is going to happen based off many indications and based off probabilities. I just think a move like this is most likely going to happen. Now, with that out of the way, I want to talk about what the news is saying. There have been a lot of big analysts saying NIO may be a buy. NIO is super great. And I agree with them. NIO is an amazing company. I think these are very good buying opportunities. But the problem is, excuse me, the problem is a lot of articles tend to kind of pump NIO and different stocks during certain times. And this is when the market makers take advantage of retail investors. They try to trick people with these articles. So they get lots of people involved, and then they kind of start to rug pull it a little bit later. They start shorting even harder to kind of earn that money back. So it's just a possibility that these are some of the tricks that they're playing. Because I mentioned previously, the second half of July seems more bearish than bullish for the markets, in my opinion, with the FOMC meeting coming, with the big GDP reports, with all these different tech earnings, and so many different factors. But I can't promise that. I just seems more likely based off those factors. But this is just something I want to warn you about. There are going to be lots of articles that try to trick you. This is just market maker manipulation. It happens on a day-to-day basis. Now, looking at NIO, at the end of the day, yeah, there may be downside later this month. NIO may drop again and again. I understand that, but I'm not scared. I'm not worried, because you have to remember the fundamentals and the long-term future of the company are still very, very bright, extremely bright. If you look at the different models that NIO has come up with, one of them is the ES7. It comes through with their offering of the 10 drive modes, a driving cockpit, and also a digital cockpit, and autonomous driving technology, to name a few of their features according to Design Boom. So NIO is getting lots of recognition. I mean, they are selling lots of cars. Their battery swapping technology just broke past 10 million swaps. they're just doing a fantastic job. I think it's estimated that every 2.8 seconds there's a big swap that happens, a new swap. So the battery swapping technology is huge. Their EV technology is amazing. The chargers are going to be using even more efficient charging technology that's 500 kilowatts, meaning better charging times, better technology, AI technology. So many factors, many different sedans are coming out. Their new SUVs are awesome. I mean, I'm just blown away by the fundamentals. And I do believe in the long term future, this thing is going to break all time highs. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens as soon as the year 2023. It's very much possible. With that said and done, please be patient. I know NIO is not going to be making all time highs maybe in the next few weeks. It probably won't be, most likely won't be. And I understand that some people are becoming impatient, but this is a game, and this is also the stock market is also a place of patience. If you want to succeed in the market, you have to be patient, you have to study fundamentals, and you have to learn to mitigate your risks. With that out of the way, NIO is a great buying opportunity. I think it's at a very good buying opportunity, but there is potential downside. So I would recommend not going all in just yet. Don't even go all in at all. You should never do that in any company. And by the way, not financial advice. Okay, I'm just a guy on YouTube making videos. With that said, here's what I want you to know. It's a very good strategy to dollar cost average when you see potential downside. No one could time the bottom perfectly. And for the markets, they are most likely going to remain choppy and bearish for the next few months. I still feel that way. I don't think we're out of this bear market yet. But when the recovery comes, it's going to be beautiful. With that out of the way, on a day-to-day basis, there will most likely be some red days, probably tomorrow as well. But I'm still very bullish long term. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, not financial advice, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, and peace out.